I just ran a webinar where we got over 8,000 registrants to my prospective funnel. The crazy thing is it only took less than an hour to put this whole thing together online. And then close to half those people showed up and we did over $120,000 in sales on the call. I'll screen share. I'll show you guys the exact funnel, some of the things I went through that work, and then I'll also show you the email copy that crushed for me.
Neel, founder of Forge, the content accelerator of the real estate industry. He has helped hundreds of people build a successful personal brand, and very notably recently had a webinar with Gary Vaynerchuk that he promoted with one of his respective funnels, driving over 8,000 registrations in 10 days and selling $127,000 live on the call as a result of that. And with that being said, Neel, welcome to the show. Very glad to have you.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's been fun to dive into some of these strategies. So I'm really excited about today's conversation.
Same here, sir. Same here. So I would say without further ado, let's do a quick intro. Tell the people who you are, what your business is, and what brought us together.
I would say first and foremost, I'm a content creator, because without content, it doesn't matter what you sell. If nobody knows you, they can't flow you. You know what I mean? So
yes, sir.
First things first, I'm a content creator. And then I used content and digital marketing to grow my mortgage business in the real estate industry, and had amazing success for many years. And I'm still in that business. That's my core business. But then along the way, started teaching other people within real estate and mortgage, and now even other industries, how to do the same thing, how to build a personal brand. And then more importantly, how to turn views and content into clients. I think that's the big thing that people are missing. You know, a lot of people get over the views and likes in that game. Like, it's fun for a little bit, but at the end of the day, you know, last time I checked, you can't deposit your views at the bank, you know? So you gotta figure out a way to actually turn this into business. And so that's what I really specialize in now, is helping people turn posts into profit.
Very nice. And in terms of the specific business model, can you let us in on that? So is specifically, what are you selling, and
so
what is Forge?
Yeah, exactly. So on the mortgage real estate side, you know, when I post content and help our members do that, we're trying to get clients, we're trying to recruit people, we're trying to get business partners. But then on the Forward Academy side, which is a company I launched in 2020 just as a passion project, we are doing events and online education, coaching. It was just a passion project for me, just a side hustle for a few years. And then it just kept growing on its own organically. And that business has done over $10 million in top line sales since it founded. So 5 years. And so that's been really cool. And I know there's other businesses and coaching and stuff that do a lot more than that. But what is cool about me in that business for me is the ads. I only just started running ads. Prior to that, it was all organic traffic from Instagram. And so that tells you, like, even with a small niche following, you can do some pretty big numbers in terms of sales if you're positioned correctly. I think a lot of people think about just posting more, but it's not about just posting more. You need to have the right positioning, you know, and so there's a whole strategy around that. But that is the key in terms of making the right type of content that would actually get you customers.
And that resonates so much with me, man. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into your strategy in a bit. But as you said, right, if you look at our Instagram account, if you look at my Instagram account, we don't have a huge following organically, but we've driven substantial business growth through ads and funnels. And so I think that's also where a lot of the power lies in what we'll uncover.
Yeah, it's like, can you really help people? You know, like somebody told me this a while ago, bro. They said, the secret to getting rich is just helping other people get rich. Yes, right? Sir. That's the thing. That's it.
Serving them.
So if you can help people make money, get actual results and show proof, you know, nothing else sells like results. If you're getting results for yourself personally or for your clients, you don't need a bunch of followers. And a lot of people think you need massive audience. Well, we're not selling t-shirts, you know, we're not selling like supplements, and you don't need a mass audience. You would just need the right people to see your content and then actually be able to actually help them. So that's I think the focus. I know people, bro, that have 1 million followers, 1 million followers. They built it through massive wide appeal content. And they could launch an offer and get very few sales, if any. And so all followers are not created equal. All subscribers are not created equal. And so I think that's one thing that a lot of the people watching this, listening, need to focus on is like, okay, what are you trying to do here? You know, I would rather go deep than wide right now. Go deep with the people that you can serve. And then, yes, you can still throw in some wide appeal stuff. I like going viral just like the next guy. It's fun. But honestly, I don't get as much from those posts as I do from the ones like I'll post an image with a really good tweet with good copy on it, and I'll get like 3 million views on Instagram. And I'll tell you, it does nothing for my business, but it's just cool to be able to like for brand. I think that's good for brand, but that's it.
Very true. And I think there was also this one thing that Hormozy once said, where he said he was going in the direction of measuring views primarily for his brand and expanding that, right? And he basically dialed back on that, where they're now measuring more like RPM, so revenue per 1,000 views, rather than just the views, because that also has that quality component within it. And I think it's such an important point that you're saying, because also, some of our customers, most of our customers are agencies, and the ones that are really doing well, the ones that, have these huge retainers that they're keeping for a long, long time, are the ones that are delivering business critical results. And that's usually revenue, right? It's lead gen. Yeah. It's getting their clients more money. It's getting their clients more revenue. And so it just makes sense what you just said. And I very much agree.
100%, man. And before we get into the actual strategy, which we're going to right now, and by the way, I'm going to show everybody here, I'll screen share, I'll show you guys the exact funnel, some of the things I went through that work, and then I'll also show you the email copy that crushed for me. Nice. So if you're watching this, stay tuned and get a notepad or record this shit, whatever you got to do, bring your 100%. AI thing to summarize it. But before we do that, I think it's really important to say, for people who are building their brand, and maybe they're just running ads, maybe they're just trying to get people and they're having a difficult time, I think it's really important to actually post more. So that's one area where I would maybe push back a little bit on Hormozy. He would say, hey, I noticed that I get way more ROI from these type of videos than I did from the wide appeal ones. But he ignores the thing like, bro, that's Hormozy, you already give him like maximum brand. So for him, and like, I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They look at Gary Vee, Hormozy, these people, and look at what they're doing now. That may not work for you. And so I would tell people that building your personal brand, even if it doesn't get you sales right away, it's just something you can do. So for your case, for example, Neel, it's like, you post about perspective and all this stuff. And I recently got connected with you on IG, but then you also post when you're on holiday, doing some stuff, showing behind the scenes, doing other things. And those views, those posts may not lead to like deals or profits, but it allows people to connect with you. And I think people forget about this. A lot of times in business, especially if you're a coach or a consultant, they don't buy your offer, they buy you, right? And so people need to like you. And they need to connect with you. And so they can't, you can't connect with anybody if you don't share anything outside of, here's the funnel, here's the deal. Like those are important, but like once in a while, dude, what else are you doing? What else are you into? 100%. And I think that's the part of personal brand that gets ignored right now.
Yeah. It's oftentimes the intangibles that also help then bringing deals over the finish line, especially like if you're in B2B sales and in high ticket environments. Sure. That's
especially like coaches, like, like you're selling software.
Yeah.
So that the software does the heavy lifting, but like for people who are selling an offer, like for actually consulting, they need to trust you. They've probably been burned by somebody before, and correct. So that is a big piece of content, is actually who you are and what you stand for, your values, all those kinds of things.
100%. And I would say, with that being said, man, let's get into the nitty gritty tactical topics. So specifically that funnel that you ran with Gary. You also just mentioned Gary. As I said before, 8,000 registrations in 10 days. You said, right? 6 figures sold live on the call. Exceptional result right there. So would you just spin up your screen share and show us the funnel? Maybe also the metrics, because I would be super keen to see that, especially as it relates to the traffic, because you just said that you also ran some ads, but you also have quite the substantial organic following. So I'd be really curious to see how that breaks down.
Yeah. So let me do this real quick. I will share the funnel. So this is inside my perspective account, right? And I just love the fact that this is so clean and easy. By the way, these pages load like lightning fast. I don't know if you ever looked at it compared to other things. I was using like Go High Level before, and sometimes there's problems with the way it loads, but these are mobile optimized. And I noticed this, bro, like 80% of the traffic is coming from, mobile devices for me. And so it was really important that it's optimized for mobile, but it's cool. Like it still looks great on a desktop. So it doesn't matter, but like I would optimize more for this than I would for desktop. So I'm optimized here. So this is really important. I have an image at the top. If you have a notable person, I think it's important to put you and that person at the top. Recently, I do these webinars with notable people all the time. And I think it does connect. Now, somebody watching might say, well, I'm not doing one with Gary Vee. I'm doing one with my buddy, or I'm doing one with somebody else. Like you could put your image there. And I've tested this with or without, and it does convert better with an image at the top. So if you have high quality, now, if you have a shitty image or you're ugly, then don't put it up, but like if you could just get, what I mean? Like get a good picture of yourself. Like even me, bro, I'm like, I look bad sometimes, like in the bad lighting, whatever, get a good photo, invest in some quality, because this is your brand. So obviously, my colors are also incorporated, like all my colors, like red and black. So you'll see red and black throughout. So just little things. Those are just minor things. Obviously, the most important thing is traffic, but this helps me if you're building a brand, if things are cohesive. Because if they come to this and it's a totally different look than what you normally portray, then that's a problem. The next thing that really important is having a really good title for your web class thing. I think so many people like put webinar in their title. Like, bro, nobody wants to come to a webinar. Like everyone is overloaded right now. Their information, it's just too much. It needs to be something that's like, what's in it for me? And so I went through this process testing a bunch of titles, and the one I landed on was the new way to win on social and media in 2025. So this implies that there's something new, which there was. We were going to go over new strategy. What do people want? They want to win online. Put some time into the title of your webinar, otherwise, or your whatever it is you're offering, and use AI if you need to come up with something more attractive, I would say.
Totally. And one interesting thing that I would love to point out here is that for the form, and you said like the structure is super, super simple, right? So you have the image right above, then a nice headline, and then from there on, you're leading instantly to the opt-in. Now you're asking for the email address and phone number. Some people might say, asking for both, that's quite high friction. Why are you doing that in this case, Neel?
So in this case, I'm syncing these over so that we could do text reminders. So anytime I'm doing webinars, the show up rate is a big thing. Like you can get 8,000 people, but let's just say 1,000 show up. Then you got a bunch of emails, but you didn't really accomplish your goal. So obviously email is important, but text is really important right now to drive traffic to your live webinar. And I'm not blasting these people with SMS. All I'm saying is like, here, the webinar is today, or I'm not using the word webinar. I'm saying the masterclass or the event, the online event is today, and then, hey, we just got started, or we're getting started right now. Click here. Just a few reminders goes a long way. And I do say in my disclosure that like, hey, you may receive a reminder SMS. Don't worry, I won't spam you or sell you information. And so what I found, bro, is a lot of people will give you their cell. Now, if you notice that you're getting a lot of people leaving and you're not even getting the opt-ins and you're more of a beginner, then take this off. You'll probably get more opt-ins without it. I would have for sure got over 10,000 opt-ins if I took the phone number off. But for me, I wanted more quality.
Makes a lot of sense. And for the attendance rate, you just said that having the cell and having SMS reminders really boosts attendance rate. Do you have that number top of mind? What was the attendance for that one?
This is interesting. So I updated my Zoom account. Now you could use other services, but Zoom webinars, it goes up substantially when you go above 3,000. So I had 1,000, which was my big ones previously, prior to this one. And now I do like 2,000, 3,000 on a regular basis. But prior to this, my normal size is like 5 to 100 to 1,000. So when you go above 1,000, you can go to 3,000 max. And it's not cheap, bro. It's pretty expensive to upgrade, but relatively speaking, not a big expense. But when you go above 3,000, it changes a lot. Like I think it was like 25K a year on Zoom to do up to 5,000, because I think there's only certain people who have that level of numbers on a webinar, and they think that they could squeeze these people. So it's like tax the rich
Zoom,
type thing from Zoom.
Exactly. Zoom knows that if you have that many attendees, you're going to be selling a lot. So they just
probably, or they think it's like a big corporation, a software company, whatever. So I just left it at 3K because I was like, bro, I'll be happy with 3K.
So I hope you're enjoying this funnel breakdown. This is the complete process that I used to blow up this particular webinar, and so many since then. Now, if you're someone who wants to do this for your account, if you actually want to do your webinar, whether it's big or small, or maybe you have a lead magnet or a live event, you can use this exact template. I've got a special treat for everybody watching today. The company Perspective is offering all of my audience a 30-day free trial. So if you want to grab the template and get a 30-day free trial of the software, just click the link in the description, and then you'll be on your path to crushing it as well.
And what I did was I used the scarcity to drive more traffic. So let's just say yours was 1,000. As you exceed 1,000, part of my messaging to all the people on the emails on social and even in the ad was like, look, guys, I messed up. My count is capped at 1,000 and we have over 2,000 registrants. So here's the thing. You can still register for this thing, but make sure you show up. Don't miss this and show up early. So I was using the scarcity to get more people in.
That makes sense. And how many people showed up then? Did you
so 3,000 showed up. And then when I checked Zoom afterwards, it was up to 3,900 who tried to get in. And then people were posting that, hey, this one was full. I couldn't get in. And I screenshot all those so that way I could show proof next time of like, hey, when I tell you guys that this one limited capacity, everybody says limited capacity. I wanted proof that actually I do have limited capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And so if 3,900 people try to get in, it's like roughly almost 50% show up, right? I think from experience,
Yeah.
or I recently heard this benchmark, it's like 15% for live webinars, the benchmark for the show up, right? So dude, this has
It's
been
incredible. Yeah. So
definitely outperforming.
if you can get 40
Amazing.
to 50%, you are crushing it. And so
Yeah.
my goal is always 40 to 50% show up rate. This one was closer to 50% because of how hype it was. We were just under 50% show up rate. And so the rest of the funnel is just a really simple graphic. I like this social proof credibility where you've seen me and Gary in certain publications. If you're like, bro, I've never been in any publications, like you'd be surprised. You can get PR and get published in a few things, you know, just to be able to show that proof there. Just give some, for the people who are new to you, it helps. And then also like a quick bio on me, quick bio on Gary for those that don't know. Another opt-in chance. And then FAQs are important, I think, at the bottom, letting people know a few things.
Nice one. So very simple, very straightforward, leading with a strong value proposition, then nice opt-in, and you take it from there. Would you also show us the confirmation page? Exactly.
Yeah. So they'll come over here. Now, this is important. Now, if you're doing something a little bit higher value like this one was, or, you know, pushing forward, I would really, really focus on how to get more people to take this seriously and stand out. You know, and if you're like, well, Neel, mine's not that good, you have two options. You could make it better, you know, you could bring in a guest, you could do things to just bring the value up because there's so much noise out there, you got to cut through. So in this case, after you register, I said you're registered, but you're not finished. Check your email, because what happens is they ignore all these emails. They opt in, they get back to what they were doing. And not everyone's going to do this, but I just showed a screenshot of what the email looks like that I sent. And I said, go find this email and then reply them in. Now, what this does is it whitelists you in that person's inbox. So everybody's getting emails. Worst case, your email went to spam, junk, promotions in Gmail, something like that.
Yeah.
Like you can actually direct them to go find it. Now, I do a really good job of trying to always end up in the inbox, but if you weren't in the inbox, let them go find your email and then reply to it. When they reply to it, it tells their email service provider that this is a legit email, because you wouldn't respond to it if it wasn't, right? So you want people to click a link in an email or reply to an email, and that whitelists you.
And interestingly, we recently had a case in one of our masterminds where somebody was running a book a call funnel for an insurance offer. And basically what they did is, or they said, hey, like there's a problem. We have a problem with the show up rate. What they did is with their SMS reminders, they had an instant follow up after the registration, asking people just to confirm verbally one more time to actually show up. That was the only thing that they implemented. And show up rates were bumped by 30% because there's this other thing that happens, which is not just, okay, like the technical side of things, emails are actually showing up, but it's also like people are verbally committing to coming, right? To joining the webinar, which is also like actually a big boost.
Micro promise that they make in the, you know, and it's a commitment, and you have just a higher chance of coming because, hey, I sent Neel an email saying I'm coming. So that's super easy. I do give them a chance to put the calendar invite. So obviously they're going to get emailed the calendar invite, but I give them a chance to download it. And then I put in one more thing of like, man, those interested will try, but those committed will actually show up. I'll see you there. And then, you know, just to throw a little bit more, get some more traffic from this, I put like a bonus of maybe a high performing YouTube video I have, maybe a lead magnet, whatever you want here. I tested a few things. This one seemed to get the most. I did a podcast with Hormozy last year, so I just put the link to that. And that video is blowing up on YouTube right now. So I was like, man, this actually brought me a couple thousand more views, and actually not just any views, but targeted views. So like what this does is if somebody found me for the first time from an ad or an email or something that somebody forwarded to them, they're reading this and they're like, oh shit, Neel did a thing with Hormozy, or Neel did a thing with this, or maybe you have a video of just yourself where you're teaching something and it might be a niche video. Let them go watch that. Another thing that somebody told me to do here, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Neel, is if you have an offer, like give them a chance to join the offer now, because he says some people are ready to buy already.
Super interesting, man, because I'm taking a lot of notes because we are running a weekly live webinar for ourselves as well. And it's doing super well. We are not at 50% attendance. It's like 30% attendance. One thing that also bumped our attendance quite a lot was this reply email that we've implemented. But interestingly, on our thank you page, we have a tripwire offer. We're asking people to basically get a trial for the software. And that's been doing decently well. We convert like 10% of the people that hit the thank you page into the offer, which is amazing already. It's getting us a decent cost per action. So we've been playing around with this a little, but I'm sure I'll also implement some of the learnings that I'm taking from this pod here.
Yeah, I mean, like it could be just brand.
Works.
Yeah, like maybe your best performing video. Like throw it up there, and then people go watch it. They're like, "Oh man, this guy knows his stuff. I like the company. I like what they do." And now it encourages them to pay attention to your email, to pay attention to the next step. So you've got their attention here. Let's try and throw one more hook in there and see if we can get somebody to check us out. So I think it's just and like you said, it's 10%, 20% if you're lucky of people who click on this, but it doesn't cost you anything.
Correct. And then what I would be super keen on also knowing, Neel, would be looking at the metrics tab. I think you had a decent conversion when I last looked at this, and it was something crazy as well. All right, so 37% conversion rate. That's sick, man. Very good results. And you can see the top UTM sources there as well. So the different traffic sources. Can you just quickly let us in on where you drove the traffic from, what your main sources are? I see FBM score ad.
So I did a lot of emails and content on my Instagram that drove quite a bit of traffic. And then I hadn't been running ads before, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to start running some ads for this. And it really exploded. What I did was, and this is the hack I think people need to really pay attention to. This is the gold of the whole thing, is if you are someone who's been posting content, and if you're not posting content, what are you doing? Get going with posting videos. But then if you retarget the people who have been watching your videos on Instagram or Facebook, it's like the highest conversion you've ever seen. It's like gold, for me. So all I did was not run an ad to cold traffic, because that was converting, kind of poorly, and it was costing me quite a bit more. Your cost per lead goes up a lot when it's cold traffic. The guys who are running my ads, bro, they told me to be prepared for $10 plus per lead. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not paying $10 for a freaking webinar registrant. Like, it's not even a lead. It's not even a lead. They didn't even show up to my thing yet. I'm paying $10. And imagine how quickly you spend the money, right?
Yeah, of course.
At the end of the day on this one, I think I paid $2.60 or something per lead, because I'm showing it to people who are familiar with me. They've seen my face before. They've watched my videos.
Yeah.
So that's the hack for me, is post organic content and then retarget the views with an offer. Yeah. And so that's why my ads, I did really well there. And so even though, like you're saying, well, Neel, most of the traffic came from ads. Well, the ads perform so well because they've seen my videos on Instagram.
Totally. Yeah. And that has been working well for us as well. So what we also have done, and that might be something that might add to it, of course, we have a reoccurring webinar, right? So it's reoccurring weekly. So what we're doing is we're retargeting the people specifically that have watched the video ads as well, because we're also running a lot of cold traffic, because as I said, like, we're not too big on the organic following side, but that has been working wonders as well, also in like the single digit cost per lead. So very smart strategy, man.
And then again, you see here over 80% are opting in from mobile. So I know people who really build all their pages and they look beautiful on desktop. And it's like most 8 out of 10 people are going to be looking at this on their phone.
Yeah.
So you need to optimize for the phone, not for the desktop.
The entire funnel, what other pieces are you using in your tech stack right here?
In Brevo, this is just the email I would send out. And this was just a confirmation email saying, hey, congrats on registering. Really simple. When it is, again, just reconfirming. Yes. I do this. I say there's no replay. A lot of people say you will get people like, hey, I'm going to miss this. Is there a replay? There's no replay. You can, sometimes I do one where there will be a replay. But on this one, I wanted to drive more show up. So I say no replay. And then I really tell them again to reply I'm in. But then also I explain one more time why this is important, why this is really good. This will be game changing. Also, give them a chance to invite their friends, like spread the word. Other friends, they'll thank you later. Let's go. And then, just something funny at the end. Hey, seriously, don't stand me up. I worked too hard on this one. Show up. Just something simple to like give them your person. Like if you can insert your personality or your brand or whatever, the way your communication, because when it's just like standard corporate type text, I think it just doesn't stand out. So I'm going to talk like the way I talk. That's a big thing with email for me, is I'm speaking with emojis, LOLs, like whatever the heck you do with your buddies. That's maybe take off some of the harsh jokes a little bit, but for the most part, my email copy is the way I'm going to talk to you.
It's what Naval said, right? It's like escape competition through authenticity. And I think just being yourself also just makes it so easy to basically stand out, be unique. Makes a lot of sense.
And also, then like we have emails that go out to show people, to get people to show up and stuff. And then also
just one comment on the subject. I think it was like, please read immediately, and like PLZ, read immediately. It's also such a fun,
so
fun
this is,
subject
again,
line.
I'm trying. This is one of them that says first name, please read immediately. Now, sometimes I do a different one. This is just one I did on this one, but like again, conversational, stand out in the inbox, change it up. One other thing I was going to tell you is in SMS, like I don't blast these people on their text because they're going to unsubscribe. But I did do, just a simple text that says, hey, today we just started. This is not a test. Zoom links in your email. Now, here's the thing. For me, because I'm selling and I'm showing things on desktop, I was really trying to push them to attend from desktop. In all of the FAQs and all of my reminder emails, I said, please join from a desktop if you can, because I'm showing them video content and, it's just a better experience. Now,
of course,
if you don't care about desktop, then you could put the link in here for them to join. And then that way, the people who get this text, they could just click on the link to join your webinar. Like if all you cared about was them showing up to watch, then I would have put my link here. But for me, I said, hey, the Zoom link's in your email. And then you have to put this compliance crap here, but whatever. I did get some unsubscribe on the text, but a lot of people, like this really helped me bring up my show rate. So this is important.
Really cool. And then, so we said before it was 8,000 registrations within 10 days. Like how long do you think it took you to set up the entire marketing operations behind this? So the funnel, the email, like the automations.
Yeah, I think this is the part that people really mess up when they're trying to do something, a webinar or whatever. I talk to people and I would say, hey, when are you doing your next webinar? And they're like, yeah, I've got it planned for like June. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why don't we do it next week? You know what I mean? Like, I think people put this on the pedestal, and I understand for me, I've been doing these. So it's like, maybe I'm a little biased, but I will tell you that you need to set the date sooner. Okay. Like nothing will motivate you more than a deadline that cannot be missed.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say you set it up for 10 days from now. Someone's watching this right now and they're like, bro, I'm inspired. Let's go. I want to do a 1,000-person webinar on 6-figure sales. Let's go.
Yeah.
Cool. Set it for 2 weeks from now. Set it for 10 days from now. And don't when you give it like months away, it's just going to the time just fills. So me setting up that landing page, I did it in less than an hour. Okay. It doesn't take that long because it's literally, I just used one of the templates and then I dropped in the copy and then I changed the title a couple times along the way just to see what converts. Now there's actually a feature in Perspective that lets you A/B test. So what I do is I'll use a different image. The reason why I told you guys earlier that image versus no image performs better, it's not my feeling. I did an A/B test on my last one. I just did a webinar with Dan Martell and a bunch of other people. I did the A/B test and the other one performed 10% more conversion. So I'm like, hey, let me throw my picture on there first. Like a lot of people just guessing, you can use the data. So, and then by the way, if you're watching this, just use my data because I just did the work for you. So you can skip steps. Just put put the image, make sure it's a good image though. All that to say is like, that takes less than an hour. Me writing that email, I use GPT, play with it a little bit, test a few things. That maybe takes another 30, 40 minutes to set up. So and I do things at weird hours, like I got kids, I got a family, I'm busy. The kids go to sleep. I'll spend from 9 p.m. to like 11 p.m. before I go to sleep and build a funnel. Cool. We're done. Tomorrow we're launching. Like tomorrow I start posting driving traffic. So I think people overcomplicate this whole process of like, 100%. Dude, what are we going to... And then somebody will say, well, shit, I don't know what I'm going to teach on the class. Well, if you're good at what you do and you have the knowledge, you will figure it out. Meaning like, I'll put together my decks and do the things, but I don't want to spend a lot of time planning. I want to spend the time driving the traffic because if there's no traffic, there's no presentation. You know what I mean? Like I see so many people do that the way around. Hey, I'm going to work on my presentation. Yeah. The presentation is worthless, bro, if you don't have anybody on the call. Okay. So let's get all the people on the call. Let's drive the traffic. Yeah. And then what I usually do, and I wouldn't recommend this for everybody, is I will spend like 48 hours prior to my thing really perfecting what I'm about to talk about. Yeah. And then I learned through doing it. And was it perfect? No. Did it work? Yes. I would say when I watch it back, I'm like, hey, there's a few tweaks I need to make next time. Here's one where you messed up. Hey, your framing wasn't right here. But I learned through doing.
And out of curiosity, Neel, what was the call to action for the people within the webinar? What was the offer specifically?
Oh, so for this one, I said, and I think this is important for anybody where there's going to be an offer, let them know up front if you're, going to offer something. So I said, hey, here's our agenda. I do a little story to intro and get people going, hype them up. And I say, guys, here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to do this. I'm going to teach you this concept. Me and Gary are going to jam on this. And then I do have an opportunity for you guys to learn more and join my community. I want to tell you guys about something special I'm doing there. So if you stick around to the end, I'm going to offer that as well. And that way, nobody's like, hey man, what'd you bring me here just to sell me something? Like just tell them up front. And then it kind of removes the whole selling fear from even from your own voice. Maybe your energy changes when you go to sell. If you already told them you're going to sell, then nobody cares. And I've done both where there's no pitch and then sometimes there is a pitch.
Same here. Same here.
And I think it just you need to have the same energy. If you switch to like a salesman, all of a sudden people can feel it. Even on Zoom, they can feel it, and your conversion rate goes down. So I kind of just keep the same energy, and then when I get to that point, I say, guys, I want to do something really special for everybody who showed up, and then make sure that you're giving them something that you wouldn't ordinarily do. Maybe it's a special deal, a discount, bonuses that you're giving them for joining if they're on the call. But there's got to be a reason to do it now versus wait.
Yeah.
And if there's no reason to do it now, someone will learn about it, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I'll sign up later." And that's fine. You can join later, and my brand still grows. But if your goal was to drive sales, you need to do something to drive the sales on the call. Yeah.
Correct. One thing that also significantly helped us was basically asking for permission, quote unquote, where you actually get the engagement from the chat. So what I was doing before the sale, I was like, hey guys, like I've put together a special offer for you. Are you okay with me just showing you really quickly what I've put together? And then the chat is like, yes. And they're basically giving you permission to sell to them, which also in turn helps with the energy. I feel like, you get that confirmation.
I'm really glad you said this, because throughout the whole thing, I'm asking for feedback in the chat. If the chat's dead, usually your webinar is dead. Honestly,
correct.
You need to get people talking, asking questions, saying hello to people. Guys, I have a question for you. Let me know, and then make it simple to respond. Don't ask for a long response. Just drop a yes in the chat if that if that resonates with you, or drop a one word, a why, or whatever, and then people start 100%. Dropping in, and then like you said, you can get them to let you know it's okay, and say, guys, would this be cool if we went through this, this, and this? If that's cool with you guys, let me know in the chat. Yes. Okay, cool. Let's move on. And now you have the ability to move on. I will say this, this might be a niche problem for people watching this. If you do get to large numbers, it's important to have a moderator in the chat. I didn't know this. And there were people like, trying to spam. They were selling their services in the chat. So now on my next that's how I learned. I did it once. You get burned a few times. And then I learned like, hey, next time I did a big one, I had like 3 moderators in the chat. Now, if you're smaller, like say you just have 200 people on the call, one moderator, like your admin or VA, they could be in the chat, keeping track of questions. If somebody's rude, bounce them, that type of thing. Because there are weird people that join your thing, especially if you run ads, you'll get some weird people,
Yeah, that's true.
And so if you get I didn't realize at 3,000, the chat just moves. It's moving so fast. You can't even keep track. It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Neel, man, this has been great. I've learned a lot. I took a bunch of notes. We're most likely going to implement some of the things that you shared today as well. And now if somebody's keen to learn more about you, potentially work with you, where should they go? Where can I find you?
So you can go to, just find me on Instagram. neelhome is my IG. And then I have multiple communities. We have a community where we help people with content. Anybody who is building their personal brand, it's on School. It's one of the fastest growing personal brand programs on School. It's school.com/forward. And you can check out our programs there and learn about that. And then we have events and other things throughout the year. But if you follow me on Instagram, you'll learn all about that.
Awesome. Cool. We'll put them into the show notes. And with that being said, thanks so much for being here, man. And we'll hopefully have you on next time as well. Yeah.
Sounds good.